Welcome back. Well, as you can see, I'm now on a different bike. This one's the Road Glide ST 2023 model. It's got a 117 cubic inch motor, slightly bigger than the Street Glide that I rode earlier today. And this is the second of the bikes that I'm riding on the Harley-Davidson Demo Day that was recently held beginning of August at Auckland Harley-Davidson up in Mount Wellington. So like I said earlier in the day, I'd taken out the Street Glide Special and had a little bit of a ride around with that. Made some comments and thoughts which I've put up on a video. You can look back for it in my YouTube recent videos. And these are now my thoughts on the Road Glide ST. Now the ST stands for Sports Tourer, and the main difference between the Road Glide Special and the Sports Tourer, as I can see it, slightly bigger engine on the ST model, and it's set up more for a solo rider. It doesn't have passenger pegs, it's got a solo seat. But apart from that, as I understand it, the rest of the features of the Road Glide are pretty standard across the frames, and that's the basis I'm looking at this. So yeah, let's talk about the fairing. So that's the main difference between the Street Glide and the Road Glide, is that the fairing is fork mounted on Street Glide. It moves with the handlebars. On the Road Glide, which I'm riding here, the fairing sits a little bit further away, to be honest, and it's also, of course, mounted on the frame, not on the fork. So the the fairing is fixed, doesn't move the handlebars, they move independently, and that's a fairly common feature throughout a number of other motorbikes, and it's not at all disconcerting with this bike. It feels very natural and comfortable. In fact, I felt a little bit more at home on this bike from the get-go, because unlike with the Street Glide, where I couldn't really get a feel for where the forks were at, because the fairing is right up much more closer to the rider and obscuring the forks themselves. With the Road Glide, you can see them right there in front of you. It feels much more, for me, like a cruiser bike anyway. As with the Street Glide, handles like a dream. It's very light to manoeuvre. It's got some great pickup, get up and go, and it doesn't have the wind buffering that I was experiencing. This bike, again, it's a stock configuration. It comes exactly as it would off the floor. You'd be doing your own modifications to it if you chose to do anything at all. But for this one, no matter what speed I was going, I didn't experience wind buffering from the fairing and the windshield at all, not one tiny bit, which was a surprise, great surprise, and very pleasing. I also noticed with this one, maybe it sits a little bit higher than the Street Glide, because I also found that the riding position was more comfortable for me. My knees didn't feel to be in an elevated position like they felt when I was riding the Street Glide. Now, one thing I have to say for both of these bikes, the Street Glide and the Road Glide, which I'm presently riding, the fairing does a wonderful job. It does exactly what it's designed to do, as well as providing the instrument panel in an easy to read configuration. It keeps the wind off your body magnificently. This one was as effective as the Street Glide, very, very comfortable. Now, with all this gear in front, I was a little bit curious on how it would be for travelling through traffic in Auckland. Now, I have had a little bit of a ride around on country roads. It operates as expected, smoothly, wonderful riding. And I'm now a little bit curious on, okay, the traffic's getting a little bit thicker as I'm making my way back now to Auckland Harley-Davidson, Mount Wellington. And I'm curious to see how does it cope in heavier traffic, particularly if it comes to a lane splitting situation. Well, I was soon to find out, and my findings were, yeah, it's pretty good. Before we get on to lane splitting, let's cover one last topic that I had noticed when I was riding the Street Glide, and that was, took a moment to get used to the long floorboards that run on these particular bikes. I found that it was a little bit of a handful to get my feet on and off the boards, because I'm used to a much shorter board on my bike. But riding the Road Glide, I found it much easier. Probably it was because I'd already spent almost an hour on the Street Glide early in the morning before jumping on board the Road Glide, and I'd had a chance to get used to the idea of, positioning my feet to make sure that I could operate the shifter and brake pedal without having to give too much thought or overthinking into it where my feet are sitting at. Anyway, we had a pretty sweet run up the motorway here heading back to Auckland Harley until we started to run into some traffic, and as it turns out there was a bit of an incident ahead, and this was the moment where I came to realise, well, this is the chance, let's just have a look, see how the bike goes with lane splitting, and it works real well. I guess with all bikes, pretty much there's a feeling that it's a big bike because, well, it is, but essentially all you've got to worry about is the width of the bike, and usually it's governed by your handlebars. If you took out the fairing, it'd really be just another skinny little cruiser. The fairing doesn't extend beyond the handlebars, so you've still got about the same kind of space. You just need to be aware that you've got the fairing on the front, so that might make a little bit more contact point for rear view mirrors, and you've got your saddlebags at the back. But as far as the width of the bike travelling through, yeah, I'd be happy if it was a little bit louder so people would know I was coming. But yeah, it seems to work perfectly well with lane splitting. Now, I did run out of film here. I couldn't film it all the way back into Auckland Harley-Davidson, so we're going to wrap this up shortly, and I'm going to finish up in the parking lot at Auckland Harley-Davidson with an external walk around of the bike, so you can see how does it look at the front. Now, as it turns out, it was parked right up alongside the Street Glide that I was riding earlier, so you will be able to see the difference of the fairings, the more classic fairing of the Street Glide and the, as they call it, the shark nose fairing on the Road Glide. Both of them really good looking bikes. I'd be real happy if either of these bikes was sitting in my garage, but as I said, I have developed a favourite from this, and that favourite is the Road Glide. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks for watching. Safe riding out there. Ride safe, have fun. See you next week.